right, hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We're going to try something on a half-page piece of starry, holographic, printable, vinyl sticker paper. It's always a mouthful to say. I'm going to try this with the snowy bank right here, and then we'll go with one of the the nighttime cabins. I haven't kind of come up with a composition exactly in my head here. It's roughly going to be kind of snowy down below and kind of cloudier up top, and we'll stamp everything over the top of it. Hello, Patty. How are you? All right, so if I seem frazzled tonight, it's because I am. I've been doing like a lot of just troubleshooting with trying to set up a new, very old computer. I've been trying to restore things and transfer data and all that stuff, and I don't know, nothing as usual works out, completely smoothly. So I've just been troubleshooting for hours and not really getting anywhere. But that's when we need our stamping the most. Or just some sort of escape. I want to escape. So this will be a scene that I'm escaping into, on a whatever, a subconscious level maybe. All right, so this is going to be our Brilliance white pigment ink here, okay? And this type of printable vinyl, or any type of really standard photo paper is going to have this emulsion coating on here, which is designed to take and accept water-based media. It just seems strange that this is like a standard type of surface right here, that's that I would consider that after using, I don't know, these sealed off, types of papers here from my latest prints. But kind of working with the stays on, and I don't know, with the majority of my latest impressions, it just seems strange that this type of surface right here would be considered rather kind of tame, at least to me, after using all those, doing all the the reflection cards and things like that. It's like, okay, let's get that just back to some basics. So, starry, holographic, printable vinyl sticker paper is, kind of a tame type of surface. It really isn't, but, I've used this type of paper a lot, so it's fairly, I don't know. I don't know if the word is routine, but it's just a really, really easy surface to stamp on, provided you use, the compatible media. Hello, Linda and Bonnie. How are you? Yeah, that Facebook group is great, huh, Bonnie? All right, so let's see. I'm getting a pretty good slathering down. I want to use my colored pencils on top of this. And on this type of surface, no problem with the, the colored pencils right on top of this. As a matter of fact, this is, this white pigment ink. It's going to be a fairly thick ink. It's very surface oriented, on the different types of papers we use it on. This surface right here, it dries so beautifully, so complete, fast. I mean, it's like completely dry to the touch, I might be getting a little bit of residual off, but it's largely adhering, that emulsion coating on here is largely grabbing the ink and the moisture and, absorbing it into that surface, and it's really, really drying fast. So it grabs it well, so therefore we can use our colored pencils on there really nicely. I mean, it doesn't turn it into colored pencil paper or something like that, with a lot of tooth to it, but if you get a pretty good slathering of this ink down, it provides kind of a base for colored pencils to to grab onto, as almost as if it's a kind of a semi-textured porous paper. And I likened it to this surface right here now, this white surface, to use like dry media on. I liken it to like a piece of just copy paper, just cheap copy paper. In terms of how colored pencils apply, that is. All right, so we have our foundation there. It took me, take a little time, with that white pigment, because I don't just apply it in a certain area. I kind of go for a little bit more coverage so you can see it's kind of built up in some of these areas. And it's not evenly applied by any means. You can see, some areas are a little bit more translucent than others. I am trying to go for, a decent amount of opacity on here. You can see where it's kind of built up in some of these areas, but it's really chunky looking, okay? Just, when we stamp our imagery over the top of it, it kind of evens it out a little bit from an optical standpoint. So don't worry about getting like a really super smooth application of ink down like that. All right, now this is going to go, this cabin's going to go kind of in the background. I want to go a little bit higher because I want to have some, like a water's edge a little bit higher, because I'm thinking about putting like a little, maybe, I don't know if the scale is right, like a little character or a ice skater maybe. I have my little snow, kid with snow, sled as well. So I might use that. Let's see, let me try to go a little bit faster here. I'll try to slather this up a little bit more here. Hello, Sharita, how are you? Going for a little bit of the, well, a lot of the holographic vinyl sticker paper here, printable specifically. Linda, have you used that holographic sticker paper anymore? I don't think you have, huh? Since you experimented around with that. Linda got some of this paper, but she didn't get the printable type, but she did do some kind of experiments where it's just a vinyl laminate, cold laminate. Okay, so it's, you get this pattern like that, but then you do whatever you want on some sort of surface, and then you apply that right over the top of it, right? And I thought that really showed some promise in those pieces you did. What I liked about it was the starry areas didn't stand out too much in like a stamped area with a lot of color and shading and everything like that. It did a little bit, but it wasn't like a really loud type of pattern in there. But where the background is a little bit more plain or everything like that, then those types of little, it's almost like a, I don't know, like foiled little areas showed up a little bit more, the starry areas. Okay, so this is supposed to be like this. This is going to be like a snowy bank, and then I'm building up lighter areas that are a little bit more transparent, like that, and that will represent some clouds and mist, something like that. Okay. If I stamp something in front of it, then those clouds will be behind it, or if I mask this off, then the clouds will be in front of those objects, okay? So this is what I do. See, I kind of go a little bit heavier like that, and then I bring up some lighter applications. And again, that transition zone doesn't have to be smoothly applied. It can be really, really chunky. It just depends. I mean, if I'm not going to stamp anything over it, then, you know what I mean? I might kind of refine it a little bit more. But if not, such as in this case, I'm not worried about, again, all these kind of uneven applications. And now that I look at it right here, maybe a little bit more, because I want to add in some more colored pencil down there. So I'm not really going for like a smooth coverage, though. I'm going for just like a thicker coverage in these areas right in here. I do want this area up here to transition a little bit more, so I just apply less ink in those areas, okay? If you go heavy, then, so be it. Then you have a little bit more of an opaque, lighter cloud, then that's all. Or you just extend it more, where you have kind of a transition from thicker to thin like that, or lighter to darker. All right. The bigger thing is, point about this, don't sweat any kind of application types of, I don't know, whatever, visuals, undesirable visuals, because it's not going to matter too much. And again, I'll show you why when we get to stamping right over the top of this. All right, now this paper is really loud. So I've always tried to kind of tame it, unless the whole scene's really going to be about the stars and everything like that, and I just want a little embellishment down below with, some landscaping type of element to anchor it down. When I'm doing a whole scene like this, I generally like to mute, some of that texturing up there a little bit. Otherwise, it's just, you know what I mean? It's kind of overpowering. I mean, not that I'm never going for realism anyways in my pieces. I don't know, maybe, some of the latest ones, with the photograph in the background or something like that, my simple scenes. But for the most part, I don't know, most of these things are kind of a whimsical endeavor. But I don't want it to dominate, okay? Okay, now if you see this right here, on this, see how my light is kind of reflecting off of it? That kind of dull sheen on it, that's that emulsion coating that's on it. It's kind of reflecting it, so if you get the glare off of it, it looks more like that. As I'm looking at this from where I'm sitting, it looks more like, like around like that. So it's not this glary kind of dull look right here that, I don't know, you can see right now, okay? So your card will look more like this, to someone, in hand, card in hand. I'm using some really old, like that Adobe software is really old because they've been using like licensed software for Photoshop for like a decade or something like that. But I bought my software back when. And, it was really expensive years ago. And I want to keep using that without having to do that licensed monthly fee type of usage. So I'm using computers that have like an old operating system on it to run those programs. So it'd be nice, to have all the latest types of software and I don't know, whatever. I don't know what it means. I guess you're licensing, the software, but you got to save as much as possible. Even the software that I'm doing to stream these videos, that's all like a monthly fee these days. So hit that like button. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm going to continue the software, for these. I try to monetize these videos, but it's like $20 maybe every 3 months or something like that. Which is just like a fraction of the software here. All right. I don't mean $20 a video. It's like for all 2,000 videos, all the monetization off of it. It's like $20, at most a month. So, I don't know. Click on an ad. Or if you buy something on Amazon, go through the link. You don't even have to buy the stuff as long as you just use the link. All right, so that's a lot of cloud work there. Wow. Okay, so that looks pretty decent right there. I didn't mask off or anything like that. So sometimes it gets a little bit chunky on the edge. The places where I don't want it too chunky, it is right on this edge part right here. You know what I mean? But even if you get that, it's not really too big of a deal. So that is, I think, about all I want to do. Sometimes I don't fill in enough, and by the time I stamp my imagery in here, it's like, I should have filled it in a little bit more. You can fill it in after you stamp your imagery. You can go back and add on your clouds or your background a little bit more if you want to, okay? But I like to get it mostly done pre-stamping just as much as I can, because if I want to add some more of this on here, like in this area right up in here, and if I have an image that's already stamped on there, it's like, I should have taken that white a little bit farther up before stamping. Then I have to add that in, and I might put some of that white over the top of those other impressions. So if I can, you know what I mean? Again, it's not that big of a deal because I end up kind of adding some more in at the end over the top of the impressions anyways. But like I said, I just like to kind of add in as much as possible in terms of the desired amount, you know, right at the beginning if I can. Which isn't always easy because, you know, I don't really have a too fixed of an idea of how this composition is going to come out because we're composing it like right on the spot here. I do know that, you know, I'm going to use this right here, the snowy bank right here, and then this is going to go, this cabin here is going to go right on top of it like that. So I mean, it's like this, like this. That's about the extent of my compositional kind of idea for this piece right now. And then I thought I would use some extra trees in there, but I got to see how it's going to look here before I stamp those other pieces out. So we'll start off with our two kind of foundation images. And I'll start off with this one right here. And the ink of choice for that. Now I can stamp on here on top with dye-based inks. StazOn, you know, I'm pretty sure StazOn might stamp on there and then you lift it off and it might remove some of that white as opposed to transferring some of the StazOn black. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if I've done that before. A VersaFine Clear, maybe. Okay, the VersaFine Clear directly on top of this probably is not going to dry because it's an oil-based, where this is designed to take the water-based, such as, you know, Brilliance right here, or like a dye-based ink, okay? Okay, I think I did stamp the Claire one time directly on top of this, and I think it dried, but it kind of scratched, you know, you can scratch it off afterwards, which I didn't realize because I'm usually not in the habit of scratching my imagery after I stamp them out, you know, but I think it did come off. So anyways, you should all have a black and white Brilliance pad anyway. It opens up so many possibilities in terms of not just this type of surface right here, but a lot of other surfaces that you know, you need something to be able to dry on. But you might have to heat, you know, spray seal it, but it will dry on most types of surfaces. Okay, so this is the Brilliance black. And again, I'm not stamping it really directly on top of this paper, although you could, but anything that I do on this printable vinyl holographic sticker paper from here on, it should be seen as I'm using that type of media on top of Brilliance as opposed to stamping on the vinyl, because I've created that base layer of the Brilliance. Okay, so colored pencils are going to be going into Brilliance ink, not on the printable vinyl sticker paper. All right, let's see. Who do we have here? Sharita. Kevin, there's a Kevin Rose there. Hello, Kevin. What a great name. What's some advice for a beginner artist? Let's see, Kevin. I mean, Kevin, so are you talking about, you know, beginning advice for like a stamper or something like that, or just art in general? But I do like to peel the backing off and layer it over my scene. I thought those looked great. when you were doing them. I don't remember you experimenting too much, except right around that time when you got that. Okay, I'm holding this down. I probably didn't need to hold it down that long, but I was reading quotes. But see how beautiful that stamp's on there? And that's like dry, too. You know, it's like one of the fastest drying surfaces, at least in this combination of inks. So remember, don't think, okay, you know, the printable vinyl sticker paper, anything you stamp on there is going to dry like really fast. It's the Brilliance inks that dried really fast. I mean, other inks might too, okay? But just, you know, kind of test a little bit. Hello, Cynthia, how are you? I have some non-printable snowflake sticker paper. I'm looking, yeah, that sounds really cool. I vaguely kind of remember some piece that you did with that. And, you know, I was thinking, hey, that looks pretty good. You know, I was thinking I might have to get some of that myself. Okay, so this doesn't reach to the edges right here, so I'm just using the edges right here and just overlapping and extending that out to the side like that. So as you can see, this area right in here represents, you know, whatever snow. This area up here is going to represent, you know, like some background cloud or mist like that. See right here? I could probably have gone up a little bit more with that white, but no big deal. And what I was mentioning before, you know, this is a really loud surface, so I do like to kind of mute a lot of it. It could be under opacity, or it could be, you know, with translucency, where you get some of that paper kind of showing through. I think it's kind of cool for some of this to show through in this area too. So a lot of times I leave this a little bit more transparent, so I don't add in quite as much of the white. You know, in some areas, it doesn't have to be over the whole thing. But it makes for, I don't know, kind of a little bit more of a harmonious kind of combination when you can see your imagery a little bit more over the top of such a really loud, you know, type of surface like that. So keep that in mind. You can play around with opacities, you know, you can stamp this out, you know, 3 different times, and it'll probably come out a little bit different each time because the amount of white ink that you apply, you know, but that's kind of the good thing about it, though, is the variation that comes about, and it also takes the onus off of ourselves to apply like you know, really smooth applications and transitions of media. Everyone's always, I say that because it seems like somewhere along the lines that became like, I mean, I wouldn't say that it was unimportant before, but it became like really super like necessary in all types of stamping. I don't know about all types of stamping, but everyone's like, you know, like markers can't have any texturing in them, or colored pencils, you know, can't have any texture. And, you know, I was always, you know, taught that texture is like super important, and the texture of the media that you're applying should reflect that. So you want brush strokes, you know, showing, and you want pencil strokes showing in your artwork. I'm masking off a little bit of the top of this little snowy bank right there. And I'm not having this isn't going down into that a lot, but I'm just kind of masking off, I don't know, it might be like a little 1/4 inch at most, okay? So see this right top end right here is probably, some of these trees are probably going outside of that cloudy, misty background, but some of them will be within it. So you can do that, you know. I'm not trying to contain everything within the white like that. All right, let's see here. Oh, what do you use to make those landscape? Oh, well, these are Stampscapes stamps, Kevin. It's my company. It's a modular system of stamps that, when used together, can create seamless scenes. So it's for us, including myself, even though I drew the images myself, you know, when I do, if I make a landscape, I want to be able to do something really fast. I don't want to have to, draw something from scratch. So, and if I have multiple trees or something like that in scenic stamping, you can just use the same tree over and over again and repeat it. A rubber stamp's sole purpose really is for repetition of image, be it a business rubber stamp or anything like that. So it's really a fantastic medium for the art of whatever landscape creations, because we can come up with our compositions relatively quickly. Okay, so see, that's right here. So see, if I didn't block off that area in the background, with my white, all those stars would be just showing right through, the cabin, the trees, the ground underneath it. So that's why we do that kind of white, kind of blocking out first. All right, and again, like I said, certain areas that you want to block off, you want to get that established, because if I decide now, oh, maybe, I got some stars showing through here, if it's a little bit too much, if I put my white over the top of it again, that white is going to be in front of all these different images, unless you're on like a stamp positioner where you can, you can add some more white and just re-stamp the image over the top of it in the exact same, registration. All right, so let's see. But yeah, if you like these scenes, Kevin, then Stampscapes.com. These things come in different types of sets. All the designs are designed to go together, to be repeated, used with their sibling imagery, used as background for other stamps. Yeah, but it just depends on what type of art you want to do. Even just keeping like a sketchbook or something like that is a really fun kind of kind of approach to doing something creative and visual. Okay, I'm going to put these trees right here in the foreground. We're going to create a little bit of depth in here. All right. And again, we're just using the same ink right here, the Brilliance Graphite Black. What is my favorite landscape? I don't know. That's a good question for all of us here. I don't have a favorite landscape to stamp. There's probably images that I've used more over the years than others. The Lakeside Cove, that's kind of my go-to image. I've probably used it. I don't know. I don't know if I've used it 5,000 times, but I wouldn't be surprised. This cloud stamp, I've used it an awful lot. Okay, now here's where I need to start thinking about some additional tone in here. See, I'm thinking about going with these trees, but if I start adding that in, I have like zero kind of cloudy, misty background because it's going to be covering all of that up. All right, so let's rethink this now. Let's make a kind of updated assessment of this, okay? So I have all this area right in here, okay? It's not that interesting a shape. It's just like this W here, like a U type of thing right here. I think I want to come in here a little bit more, or this area, and bring this out a little bit more. I'm talking about the white. So let's do this right here. Now that I see the positioning of my, a lot of my main stamps here, let's bring them out. M-A-I-N as opposed to M-A-I-N-E, although it could be Maine though. I don't think Maine would have those types of trees, though. Those evergreens back there. All right, let's see. I'm going to try to go in here, but not go over my trees right here too much, at least, okay? Yeah, I laid down a pretty big, thick application of it right there. Yeah, it looks okay, though. Do you see what I meant, though, when I stamped this right down here? It's, I mean, it's a little bit chunky down here, but once you put that imagery over the top of it, it's like any kind of like changes in opacity, you know, with the white ink. You know what I mean? It just reads as like some extra shadow or something like that. Like right here, there's a little bit less of it right here. You know what I mean? But I think it looks good because it kind of varies that terrain a little bit or a lot. You know, it looks like shadow on the terrain, which is something you'd see, you know, naturally out in nature. All right. Okay, so I've kind of extended this by maybe, it's like 1.25 inches maybe or something like that. So we have it like this. And again, it's all kind of chunky because I'm going to be putting some trees in front of it anyway. So why bother applying it really, you know, nicely? Why bother applying it with care when it's not going to matter? Okay, let's go with these smaller ones. We have this one right here, but I don't know, I figured, okay, I got both of these out, might as well use them. Let me see, I'm gonna bring in this one over here though. Let's not waste that ink completely. If this was StazOn there, it would have dried, you know, I don't know, 15 seconds after I, you know, just had it sitting there, but this is a fairly wet ink on here, so I have it like inked up from here. I mean, the whole thing's kind of inked up, but I just reapplied some right here. And we'll just come right in here, okay? And it's gonna kind of frame things off a little bit more. You know, I already had that background, so this is stamping over some of this image too, but we'll see if it looks like it's in front of it. Or in front of it and closer to us. Let's see. Yeah. So Kevin, yeah, it's just in terms of art in general, the best thing that, you know, if I was teaching a beginning drawing class, one of the things I would do, be it high school or college, you know, on the university level, I would have everyone keep a sketchbook and get a nice sketchbook, one of those kind of bound ones, and you know, just with a pencil or something. I mean, find like a good pen or something like that that you like to, that feels really comfortable in your hand, and to write in it, I don't know, dream, document, whatever, if you're out somewhere, and just to make a little sketch. I mean, that's like as basic as you can get, unless you're already doing stuff like that, you know. Or doing, you know, if you're doing any kind of painting or something like that. But just the act of drawing, and it's not with the purpose of showing it, so you don't have to be like, oh my god, you know, I don't want anyone to see this, you know, you're not doing it for a grade or anything like that. It's just kind of keeping it little kind of visual type of thing for yourself, and the act of writing, and I call it journaling, you know. But for me, that was a really, really good exercise. I don't really do it anymore, and haven't for a while. I think I wrote something in, you know, one of those books a few months ago. Or no, I didn't. No, I typed that on the computer. All right, I put a little bit of a tree right there. I kind of didn't, I moused around here, so I didn't press hard enough right there, but I could put another tree right in there, but that's going to be where there's some mist on the ground. So it's like, okay, that didn't stamp out right there. That's going to be some mist right there, okay? But let's fill in with some additional imagery here. I don't know. There's all kinds of different types of things too. You can do. Everyone has cameras on their phones these days. Keep an eye out for just some kinds of interesting visuals and photograph them. Look at things in the macro and micro. Little interesting things, skies, colors, textures. So when you're just starting out, it's just kind of like being kind of more aware of, our surroundings, and I don't know, if you don't have time to do a little, whatever 5-minute sketch or something like that. It doesn't have to be good or anything like that either. It just, what this is doing, like with a sketchbook or with a camera, it's just kind of being a little bit more observant, and noticing things. And maybe you noticed things before, but those types of things might engage more. You might be engaged with them a little bit more, and you might investigate them further than, you normally would. Something like that. So those are all really good types of exercises. So one of my favorite things that I hear periodically is, people start doing landscape stamping, but they tell me things like, hey, after I started using the, Stampscapes or whatever, doing, stamping with the imagery, they're much more observant. They've always appreciated, I'm sure, a good sunset or something like that, but they notice colors and lighting and shade and things like that a little bit more, or, they look at the moon, more carefully now or something like that. So it's just kind of attuning yourself to, the environment and all the little things around you. All right, so that's our basic composition right here. We'll add in some additional things in here too. I'm trying to decide if I want to frame. This is a little bit, see the strip right down here? That area in there. Now I'll add some shading in here, but that area right in there is this band right here. And same thing with this one right here. It's a little bit too solid, so we'll modulate the forms on here, but also this kind of open area right down here. I want this to look like a frozen pond or something like that. So I don't have room for ice skaters. I would have to have them a little bit higher up, this pond higher up, I think. Looking at this, unless I put these little figures down here, they look like like a doll or like a G.I. Joe or something like that on there, it would be like miniatures on there. But I'm trying to decide if I want some extra trees in here like this, or if I need to go even larger maybe. Let me see if I have a really large, I don't know if I have some really large trees out already. Okay, I do here. If I didn't, I wasn't going to use these because I don't want to go looking for them right now. Oh yeah, here's my Lakeside Cove right here. I've used that design a gazillion times. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I don't know, maybe it is. I guess if you use it so much, historically, I don't know, it's probably the favorite. Okay, let's see. Let's add in this right here. I might need to re-ink this though, because we want this to be pretty dark right here, so let's go with this. Hello, Megan. I like to stamp a couple, take pictures, and then draw to see what pleases me, and then add more stamps. That's a good process right there. I don't know. Is there any type of art in particular that you're drawn to, Kevin? Animation, movies, music. What I was mentioning to people earlier, not earlier, but I think it was on the last live stream from the other night. I was mentioning if people kind of know their kind of foundational type of aesthetics, sometimes it's easier to kind of, I don't know, pick out some things that you might want to get into, or the types of things that you might, want to get into, where it's more of like a subconscious thing. Maybe, that we're kind of unaware of in terms of our preferences. But usually some sort of core type of foundational type of thing that we're into, contrast or range or something like that. Um, and that can be applied to all of the different senses. So in terms of art, two-dimensional art, I don't know. You can think about what type of music you're into, you know what I mean? And, if you're into certain types of music, it would be like, if you were to design like an album cover or something like that, or a picture to go along with that, song that is one of your favorite songs, you can think about, maybe what would be the media, that would be the most interesting for that. If it was a fixed two-dimensional medium, would it be best with whatever, oil paints, drawing, whatever, graphite? Do you see something in color? Are you more into black and white? I mean, those are all things you don't have to be aware of it, but if you start thinking about those types of things, then or asking yourself that question, it'll probably you might get the answer for it. Yeah, I was mentioning senses. I don't know if Sharita's still on it, but I think Sharita said, "Hey, how do I know what my dominant sense is?" I think she was the one that asked that. All right, so it's all kind of a weird. I don't know. We got into this discussion here, but I like talking about things like that because it's always stuff that I've pondered in the past. But so I like all kinds of music. Listen to classical, Debussy or whatever. Have a lot of that jazz, but I also like punk rock. You know what I mean? And it's just a range of different things and styles and stuff like that historically. I'm probably into more things now than, or different things than I was when I was in like high school though. But um, the way that it applies to artwork like that, we're talking about contrast and range, vast range of types of music. So when I'm working on pieces like this, I tend to go for large contrast ranges. There's darks, there's lights, things in the middle, things like that. I happen to be into different types of textures, so I like music that has a lot of depth and textures and things like that, so that when I'm listening to something, years later, I might think, oh my God, I never knew the bass line in there was, something like that. So you're always like discovering things. So the more kind of things that you pack into a scene like this, when people are looking at it or whatever, they might, look at it again. There might be additional things to discover, like in here and here and here. That's why I spend a lot of time in the details of my pieces. So, yeah. I think, what in the world is he talking about? I thought this was about stamping, you know. What ink are you using? All right, so this is a little rock stamp right here. But I kind of want it to look kind of icy, so I'm not going to fill it in, completely like that. But again, talking about texture, we want to add a little bit more texture into it like that. So like this. So you see right here, see that cloud up here? So see how this, right before it was this big open area, so you just come into it a little bit like that and just kind of break up that pattern just a touch. Okay, now everything's looking really light because we don't have any shading or anything like that going on in here. I mean, we could probably add even a little bit more white up here in the clouds, or down here. But let's start coloring this now, I think. All right, so with snow, I don't usually add in too much different tones. It's usually cool temperatures, usually. It doesn't have to be, though. Sometimes I like those types of snowy scenes that looks like an antique photograph. It's more like a warm sepia tone print. And you can do other things. I can have, stronger colors. It could be like, first snowfall of the year, but these trees are still nice and green or something like that, or autumn tones and there's just an early dusting of snowfall on the ground or something like that. But I usually just kind of keep it relatively simple in cool tones. I might add a little bit of like a purple or violet into it too. I think that looks really good. And all these different types of colors too, when you're working with holographic cardstocks like that. It's just like every color of the rainbow is up in those holographic areas, even like, I'm trying to see if there, yeah, see there's some warm tones like that. Oranges and reds, like right in this area. But you see a lot of these blues and greens, so whatever you use on this holographic cardstock, it'll harmonize really well because all those colors are already in that paper itself, so yeah. All right. It looks very, yeah. So you cool down. You take this in, Megan. You can see yourself right in the scene. Close your eyes and feel the that winter mist. Okay, I forgot here. I'm going to add this little kid with the sled in right here because I can't really add him in very well after I lay down a bunch of waxy colored pencil applications on here, okay? So let's do that. I didn't know I was going to use that. I also had that the little ice skater. An ice skater would have to be up here or something like that. I don't know what they'd be skating on, but skating on the snow. But I think I have a space right here for this little kid. I think. Yeah. It's kind of, this kid's like a little silhouette almost, but he has a little bit of tone on his back. But see, I don't want to stamp him like over this rock right here because, those rocks are going to be like, interfering with the silhouette of the figure. So, but I think this is an open enough area right in here for anything. Or, for this figure, and specifically. Oh my gosh, this black is like super juicy. I need to be careful about. I don't want to press too hard with this. You don't have to worry about it too much. With the brilliance ink on this type of paper, but if it was like a stays-on ink, if I was stamping it on top of like a non-porous surface, you don't want to use like way too much ink on it. Otherwise it gets a little bit, kind of like squirrely. But this ink really is absorbing and drying on this surface really nicely. All right. I'm glad maybe I should have, every time I do some of these, sometimes I'm thinking, man, I should have re-inked before I stamp, because look how much darker that is than this one back here. I don't know, maybe it's fine being a little bit lighter because it pushes it back into the distance visually. Darker things in the foreground, lighter things in the background like that. But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know, maybe re-ink your pads. But again, what we're going with it. All right, so let's see here. Where to add, our colors to something like this, okay? So I, right on the, I want these, I don't want to just fill this in with blue or something like that, but what I do is I look at things like darker areas in the design, okay? And here, there's not very much of it. That's why I didn't do like winter designs for a long time, because I felt like there's almost nothing to the design. So I have a lot of textures running through here, okay? I didn't want to just have like a blank outline of a design and say, okay, in the middle there's snow. So I have little areas like down here that are defined by a little bit more shadow. Okay, that's that little creek area, but I see this as like a little slope, right? It's not supposed to be flat. It's a little ridge. So what I usually like doing is I darken in the base, and then I have things a little bit lighter up top. So in other words, it's really easy. All you have to do is you just start going on right around that base of this, okay? And I'm doing it with a light blue at first, like this. Here's this little, like, snow-covered rock here too. But just at the base of things, what you do is you just kind of add in some tone like that. Now I'm going to transition it a little bit up here because I have like other colors of blue to add in here, but so like this right here, you just add that in like that. See this, there's a line right here, and I have that little kid with the sled here now, but there's this line right here that creates a little bit of separation between this like little snowy little tuft or whatever slope and this background right here. So I have that little shadow area right in there. So I'm just going in and adding a little bit of tone right back in there. That little kid's a little bit wet with ink still, so I need to be careful about that. Okay, but now you see this part right here? Here's this little edge down here, right? Now I need to add a lot more. I'm doing this just for, like a demonstration here, but just as a kind of a general area to start at, okay? So then how this starts looking a little bit more dimensional, just with a little tiny bit of shadow. I'll add a lot more. But again, this is supposed to be like snow and very reflective and light, so I won't be, I'll add a lot more, like in a certain designated area of the image. All right, so here's this little slope right in here. And I have this little slope right in here. It's defined by some rocks and a little bit of tone like that. I look for kind of objects within the snow too. So like at the base of this tree right here, stands to reason that there'd be kind of a little shadow area at the base of it. Here's some trees right here. So I can add in some shadows underneath that. Now remember, I'm not applying this colored pencil to really any of the bare holographic sticker paper. I'm just applying it on top of the Brilliance ink that's already been applied to it and dried and adhered, okay? So this is what you're allowed to do with printable sticker papers, okay? Doesn't have to be holographic. There's other types of sticker papers too. Or photo paper too, okay? You can apply that pigment ink and this type of pencil. Now, if you have like really super hard colored pencils, there might be some out there, I don't know. And the harder they are, it might not apply as easily as other pencils or other colors of pencils, okay? But so you can see this, how this is kind of mottled now with a lot more shadow. And we'll do the same thing up here on the slope. It's a little bit darker, probably underneath the cabin, or right here in the shadows. Here's some more trees over here, so you can kind of add some darkness to those. There's not like a specific area. I mean, I do have some darker areas within the designs, but you know, light is going to be hitting things differently all over the place, so you don't have to kind of abide, you know, strictly by any shading convention that I've already applied in there. But I would say that it's a good idea to oscillate your light a little bit, have areas a little bit lighter, have some areas a little bit darker. You know, in this case, we have a little subject matter right here, so you know what I mean? I don't want to darken in all the area around them like this, where that figure doesn't stand out as much. So little figures like that, animals, you know, things like that that you want the viewer to be able to see. You know, don't knock out the contrast behind those types of figures, okay? So these rocks right in here, I can add in a little bit of shadow. This is one of those little detailed types of things. Have those rocks kind of casting a bit of a shadow. All right. Okay, let's see. Bonnie, you're going to be in 106 tomorrow. That's pretty hot. For those that are stamping in heat and humidity to save electricity, break out your starry printable holographic sticker paper, and your homework is 2 scenes by Monday. For every kind of cool winter scene that you do, on average, people save about, you know, whatever, $10 in their electricity charges. Statistics show. Like right now, you know, I don't know what it is in my office right now. It's probably upper mid 70s or something like that. But under my lights right here, it gets a little bit warm. But in stamping the scene out, you know, I feel like going and like putting on a jacket right now. I should do these scenes like thematic, right? You know, I should be wearing like a down jacket on right, you know, right now, and like a little wool beanie. Okay, we're going into this ice area, the frozen pond area like this. And this area right in here, I want some bluish tone in there, okay, but I don't want it to be like completely filled in, so I'm just going to create this like little spotlit area right in here. So in other words, this area right here, it's just like an area of reflected light, you know, coming from the sky or something like that. Oh, This area up here might be good with like a moon up here, like this. I think I might add it in there. I do have my full moons too, and I could put like a glow-in-the-dark moon up there. But I think on this one, I'm just going to use my pigment ink right in here. Okay, let's do that. In fact, let's do it right now. I say let's do it right now because I might be able to kind of direct some shadows in relation to the positioning of my, you know, light source in this scene here. So let's go ahead and add that in. Okay, now on my moons, what I like to, this is just a 1-inch hole punch, by the way. Um, I like to kind of vary my moon, whatever, brightness, I guess. I don't know if I can do it on here, I guess, because I guess if I have it too kind of see through at the bottom like that, that stars are going to shine right through. But I don't know. I think it still might be kind of cool to do that. So, and plus I can always add on some more ink if I don't like it. So, see this right here? I'm adding more ink at the top and less down at the bottom, so it gives a more, it transitioned kind of light on that moon or from the moon like that. Okay. Yeah, I mean it's just a little bit lighter on the bottom. And again, I transitioned it a little bit more, but I think that that is fine. So I don't see the stars showing through it too much. Okay, so we have that in there. So let me add in a little bit more pigment ink around it, because if this is like mist here, maybe, some of that cloud is a little bit lighter around it. Like that. I added a little bit more like that right there. A little bit more lighting. Okay, so let's do this. So we have our moon right there now. I'm going to have that moon kind of casting or creating shadows. So the trees will be, casting their shadows in the snow. The moon's light is coming from this way over here, so I'll have my shadows kind of moving out in this direction. I mean, these trees are kind of distant, so I'm not going to have this long, shadow coming from it, which would be more representative of like a moon, like right on the horizon, causing like really long, elongated shadows. But just in general, see right here, that moonlight is kind of shined in. So I mean, it's real subtle here, but I kind of have my shadows going like this way, okay? And so this little figure right here, okay? So the shadows will go kind of this way, okay? So this is supposed to be a slope, so my shadows will kind of like arc like this a little bit more. Now this is like a really light blue, so I'll change, I'll darken in the shadows a little bit. Little shadow from the sled. Like that, so see his little shadow right there. Again, it's a really light shadow because I'm just on the lightest color of blue so far. Like that. Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to leave my color scheme really kind of basic here now that we have the moonlight. I'm not going to have like green or, fall tone trees or something like that. All right, there we go. I'm trying to think if I want any more of this. If I decide I didn't add enough of this lightest of blue, I can always add more later. Aquamarine. All right. That was the lightest of blue. We'll move into kind of, I mean, this one's still kind of a lighter blue, but it's just a little bit darker than this one. It's a little bit of a different temperature blue, too. This one's a little bit more of a warmer blue. Let's see. When I quit, I like to listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Which album, or just any of them? You got them on your playlist then? I think I have about 4 or 5 of his CDs. I haven't listened to him in a long time. I saw him in concert at this one blues festival once, and that's what sold me. I was getting a little bit sleepy at this blues festival after listening to, several bands. And then Stevie Ray Vaughan came on, and That first song, Scuttle Button, and that like woke me up. And I was a, I wouldn't say like a big fan after that. I certainly listened to it a lot, but his CDs. Um, and then I don't know, it wasn't too much longer after that. I was late to the party with his music, and then I don't know, it was like a year later when he died in that wreck. All right, let's see. So see, getting a little bit darker. It's a little bit of a brighter blue, layering it like that. Um, let's see. I feel the winter in my house in the air conditioner. Let's see. You like the sled kid, huh? I came up with that, the sled kid and the little kid with the fishing pole. Kind of like a old kind of style, looking image, but I really like using them in the scenes. Have you ever tried using a stamp positioner? Uh, no, no, I haven't, Horsey Girl. I mean, I'm not against stamp positioners, and sometimes when I see people using them, I think, it looks pretty good. You know what I mean? But I don't. I just haven't. I've never used one. I think it would slow me down with a lot of types of processes. But I wouldn't mind a positioner, especially with things like quote stamps, word stamps. Definitely. It's always a little nerve wracking. So for me, in terms of stamp positioning, because I don't use a positioner, I just kind of go into. I've long since adopted the whatever the take that if something comes up kind of crooked or whatever. Hey, this is it shows that that's hand stamped. That's how I rationalize it at least. But there are certain types of things though. Like when I'm doing I'd never use like a stamp positioner for that like tiny rocks right there because I got to go quickly, and I want my pieces don't have a lot of gesture in them. I said genies in here. So like genie, like genie, you're not using the stamp positioner, right? Now, if you are, that really really surprised me. But some people's pieces are really gestural, where there's so much overlapping happening, and it looks really spontaneous. Okay, like I said, mine doesn't, look that way, but kind of that's what I'm kind of going for. Well, I don't seem to ever be achieving it that much. You know what I mean? But some people have a real spontaneous look to it. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you get further from kind of a, yeah, I love printmaking though, silk screen and all that. But the more you go with that, the more precise it is, which is exactly what it's designed for, right? But I wouldn't want it slowing down my process if it slowed it down by a lot. You know what I mean? If it's just by a little, not really a big deal. But yeah, yeah, certain types of applications for sure. I wouldn't mind. Such as those word stamps. My word stamps, I've been using them a lot lately, so I'm getting them pretty straight. But if I don't use them for a while, sometimes it comes out like leaning one way or another. And then when they're leaning too far, I stamp it on a separate piece of paper, cut out the quote, and then I just, paste it up there right over the older one. But I hate doing that. It takes so much longer. It looks better though sometimes though, especially if you kind of mat off the quote. Some like blunders cause me to, create a better looking card, but it's still not my preference. Okay, so adding a little bit more tone. Now I'm not adding this darker tone quite as high or whatever or into the design as I did with the lightest of one. And then when I go really dark like this, okay, it's in a much smaller area, okay, so that we maintain the transition of value, okay? So like right up here, see, I won't go and add like this same amount of like navy blue as I did with that kind of aqua blue, the aquamarine. See this right here, you just do a little bit. The darker you get, you just do less coloring. Just in general, if you want to go darker, it's like, yeah, I might start coloring something in and say, oh, that's just too light. You can fill it in more. Or you can go back with that lighter color that you used and add more of the lighter one in there too. But do you see this right here? You can see where I've added in like this one now. And the volumes are a little bit more defined through that shading right here. Okay, so you see right up here, that's like a 1/4 inch of, those lighter blues, okay? So you just add this in. This is like I don't know, like 1/8 of an inch maybe. But you still kind of, you edit like this, and then you still kind of transition it a little bit like that, not just like this, okay? Just go really lightly and just let it kind of develop very, incrementally. I'll bring it both up into this little snowy slope like this, okay? And I'll also bring it down into the water on the water's edge like this. So it's like going like this and going like, here's the slope, with like rocks and things like that. I'm going up it like this, okay? Like that transition. And then down in the water, you're going from kind of dark to light. So it's like this a lot of times with shading. And then if there's like some area down below, then you're going like this. So it's like darker in the middle, like that. What do they call those? Gradients, I think. They're called them gradients or something like that. And sometimes your gradients are just like in a very condensed space. Sometimes they're a little bit larger. Like the gradient up here is much shorter, okay? But down here, where you have more of this, frozen pond, you can come down here. This is like a 1/2 inch right here, but right in here it was like I don't know, 32nd of an inch or something like that. I don't know, 16th maybe. But easy to apply if you're just doing it like that amount at any given time. If I'm going like this, it's a little bit harder to transition, you know what I mean? So just kind of always just keep it really light like that, or that's what I do at least. Unless you want it more kind of gestural and a expression, you want an expression in it, like that, okay? But I always just go like this. And if I want it darker, then, it's getting darker through repetition like that. I don't know, what it was like 20 passes to get to that value of it, as opposed to like one pass, like really hard. Pan pastels would work on top of the brilliance ink. I think they would, Linda. It's just a matter of if the pan pastels, I don't think you could build them up too much, but okay, if you know that you're done with a certain processes on here, I think you can apply some pan pastels on there. And there's not very much tooth to this, but then you can use your spray fixative, you know, if you want to build up a certain color pastel over the top of a pastel, you add some down light spray fix and then apply more pastel and just keep locking down those layers of the pastel. Okay, so talking about that gradient right here, this one's going to be fun, right? This feet right here. So I'm just kind of adding in this little bit of a darker shadow right next to the figure like that. See that right there? And I'll go all the way to black too. But that was like one of those little kind of detailed, really fun things to add right in here. Like that. See this right here? It's like that lighter blue right in here, but I just did this little type of thing within that, you know, longer, you know, kind of shadow like that. If we had like a small enough like pen, we could write rosebud on that. Did everyone get that? Get that reference? Or maybe I should have said we can write rosebud. All right, so I haven't decided on this cabin here. It's probably a good idea to get a little bit of warmth into it. I'll put a little bit of brown into it. You know, I don't want it too brown though. And you wouldn't see like warm tones at night either. But you know what I mean? If we just kind of want to fool around with it a little bit and add some of that in there, it's cool. Again, we're not, you know, trying to represent, you know, replicate a photograph or photorealism or something like that. But you know what I mean? If you just want to get some variation in there, it's, you know, it would be good to do. Okay, so I have these two violets right here, and I thought let's just add some of them in here and there, or let's see how it looks. I think this kind of violet tone would look really good with snow. Sometimes when you go into those analogous colors, which are colors right next to each other on the color wheel, what that does is it creates a color glow. Okay, so and again, I'm going to keep this subtle because I don't know if I really want it or not, or, you know, based on how it'll look. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a very, very weak test of it. I don't know, you can see that right down here. I think it looks pretty decent though. You know, because this landscape is, as far as my color scheme goes, it's really quite minimal. It's one hue, so here I'm just kind of extending out the hue range of the scene just slightly. Here, we'll add it into the cabin as well, or up on these trees a little bit. All right, maybe down in the water. All right, so see that there's little tinges of kind of violet, you know, throughout, and kind of matches, like I said, the you know, the holograph. There's a lot of that pink and purple, flashing purple up there, like that. And let's try this. Let's try some of this in the more violety, darker violet. I don't know if this is going to apply. I have a lot of buildup of uh, wax, colored pencils in a lot of these areas, so this isn't really applying anymore. I think this feels to me like this. Maybe this is why this is so sharp right here too. It's a little bit of a harder pencil. It's not lead, but I don't know, whatever, wax. It's not as soft as these other colors, so it's not really applying very much. In fact, I might be digging off, some of that, some of the ink that's already been applied. This one might be working a little bit better in just kind of bare brilliance ink, bare white, that I'm applying it to. I think when I was going into the shadow area where it was really built up with tone, I think I was like removing some of it. It felt like I was scratching it off, so you can just kind of make your assessment. Yeah, this blue right here is a softer one, so I can just see it's going on. It's transferring, applying in that area still. But this one's not. It's like almost like scratchboard. It's almost like digging it off right there. All right, so here's black right here. I won't go too much with this one because it might muddy up some of my colors a little bit. Glad you like the cabins in the winter scene, Jeannie. Someone on the Facebook group did a bunch of those cabins. I think it was someone in the Netherlands, and I really love those looks. I always figured they would look good in the winter scenarios, so it was really good to see them get posted in the Facebook group. If anyone's on Facebook and wants to join in the Stampscapes Facebook group, we'd love to have you. Linda will add you in. Andrea Bocelli. I was in Vegas and at Bellagio, that duet with what's her name? That real famous song of theirs. I don't know. It's like 20 years ago. Time to say goodbye, right? I don't know if I wonder if, do I have that big disc of his? I might. I can't remember. Is that what you do your art to, though, Froggy Fresh? So Froggy Fresh has this like real operatic look to her scenes. So where's Jeannie? Jeannie went to that Stones concert. She listens to a bunch of like punk rock doing her scenes. That's why they're so expressionistic. Stones aren't punk, but we'll do some. We'll have a um, like a Facebook exchange sometime, and people will post their scenes, and we will guess um, what type of music someone was listening to while they did their scenes. How about that? Okay, I'm going back to my lighter blue here and just kind of extending some of the, the lightest of tones in here. I mean, when I was using this one, though, it didn't have this moonlight up there, so um, kind of making things a little bit darker, but instead of doing it with a darker pencil, I'm doing it with a lighter pencil, but just getting a little bit more coverage. All right. I probably use a little bit more even. This this type of application with colored pencils, it's probably my favorite colored pencil material to use, which is kind of weird, because this isn't the type of paper that you can really use colored pencils with directly. But I love that soft look. Colored pencils have, some of the softer looking end results, than a lot of other media out there. So I find it to be a really good combination to have that type of softer kind of look down here, in contrast to a metallic, very reflective foil type of patterns, patterning up, that's inherent in the paper. See, right down here, so you can see some of that showing through down here, but I think that looks pretty good on the snow to have some of that holographic kind of reflecting and flashing through it. It's really muted down here, but you probably can't see it from all angles. And see down here in this little pond area, you can see it kind of coming through a little bit too. This is going to be like my purple crayon, I think, in elementary school. Every beginning of every year, you got a new pack of crayons. And my purple one was always like, you know, like a little stub, if not just completely used up by the end of the year, the school year. I think that and silver, was the silver in that basic set? I can't remember. All right, so see this right down here? It's getting a little bit more of a glow now, too. I think our lighting is kind of a little bit more established. Okay, so here's the black again. Let's go a little bit of this, a little bit more. The black Prisma is pretty good because it's fairly soft, and it's usually the last color that I use, so it's nice to have, a color that will easily apply over the top of a lot of other layered applications of colored pencils. And if you don't have some really soft colored pencils, but maybe you have some watercolored pencils, you can use the watercolored pencils on here to color. I think some of those, I think, are softer than colored pencils, but you can use them as colored pencils instead. Okay, adding some shadows at the base of these rocks. Let's see, let's add a little bit of a stronger shadow underneath these trees too. All right, I think that should do it as far as the coloring goes, I think. I might be taking a little bit, I might be doing a little bit more coloring than I usually do, because I don't want to go back to troubleshooting that computer problem. I was mentioning when I first started this off, I've been troubleshooting this computer backup issue all day today. I had a catastrophic failure on a previous device, a very old one. All right, a little bit more shadows here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So on those positioners, yeah, it seems like I would, like in some of these things, you know what I mean? I think I, I was watching Deanna Tubbs' video the other day, and she was using a positioner to position things. She's got the clear acetates, and then she positions the stamp, and she puts those acetates down. And if I was doing a lot more of the acetates types of compositions, that would be like awesome. I would definitely use it. And someone was doing one years ago. What was her name? Ingrid Blackburn's channel. She did a like a Harry Potter take, using Stampscape stamps. I think there was like like a trunk or something like that with like a portal or something like that in there. And she was using a positioner. I thought, I don't know, those look pretty good. So every time I see those, sometimes I do have to rethink things, or I think I might have to rethink things in terms of, maybe, using them a little bit at least. So, yeah. All right, but see that right there? Now, we have those clouds in the background like that. Okay, so we're going to introduce, like we always do in my pieces, it seems, some of that background into the foreground. So, or it doesn't have to be in the foreground, but in front of some imagery in here. Okay, so this is really light in here. So this is like a natural spot. It's already white in there. And we have some dark elements right next to it. So I'm going to just tap this in. I can access this spot a little bit easier, flipping it upside down. Sorry if you can't see that. But what I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit right around that tree. You can see how slow I'm doing it too. I'm tapping it down, and you can barely see anything. But I want to get a feel for kind of the application rate of this white pigment ink on top of this surface. So it's on top of the Brilliance inks laid down there. It's on top of the foil. Depends on how wet my pad is. So see this like cloudy kind of mist coming through that area right there? So see this kid walks up there and he slides down right here. All right, let's put some mist right around in the base of these trees, I think. This is back in the days when it's like you can go out all night, or whatever, and the parents didn't have to worry about you. All right, let's see, adding it like that. Let's put this. Okay, so right in here where that tree didn't stamp out really well, that make good argument for the stamp positioner, But what I'll do is I'll mask off right here, and we'll add in like a cloud of mist right in here where it didn't stamp out already, so I'm just going to utilize that and turn it into a little blanket of mist at the base of those trees. So I just need to transition it a little bit more, than just having that blank spot, where it didn't stamp out. Have this like something like that. Maybe that's a little bit too light, I don't know. Let's see. And let's add some around in trying to assess. How about right here? So this is the illuminated area right here. And I'll just add some of this down right in here. You see, I'm adding it in the places that are already kind of light. And then what you do is you just kind of creep it into the areas or objects around those light areas. And you can add whatever degree of it that you want. It could be really a very thin layer of it. It could be a thicker layer. It could be both. You can do a gradient of light, so it's a little bit lighter right here. And then as it moves over here into the darker area, you just do a little bit less, okay? So it's almost like a gradient of light instead of, darkness, or, whatever color on white. All right, so see this little area right here? It changed it a little bit. I mean, I don't see like a cloud of mist right here, but there's a little, it's a lighter, water's edge right here than like right over here. So you've transitioned things a little bit more. Here's without the glare on it, like that. Okay, and I added some right underneath here. I could probably use a little bit more. Let's do a little bit of a mask here. I just added it right in here. Sometimes, where I add the darkest of shadows, sometimes I go back and add mist in it, and it's like, okay, that's not dark anymore. It's like kind of light, But you can still see a little bit of that shadow work underneath it, though. All right, so see this right in here? To me, that area in there, could benefit from a little bit of a, a lighting tweak. It's a very soft lighting because it's, just a thin layer of pigment ink, but see like that? See like that down there? Maybe a little bit more. I'm mostly stamping this on my paper towel, just a little bit is going up in there, like that. Right there. Maybe I should have done the night cabin instead. I might still do it. I'd just add white ink in those windows right there. But maybe not. Okay, let's add a little bit at the kids' feet. Like that, or maybe in the front foot, maybe like that. See that right there? So, they're walking in the mist a little bit too. That kid's not afraid of the night and sledding. He's trying to sled and make it all the way down to the pond. That's his goal. That's a challenge right there. Okay, and all right. I think that's a pretty good amount of mist. Here we go. All right. White paint pen. I tried using a stamp position and found myself almost overthinking and analyzing. It does take, there is something to the positioner. I think it's like someone was saying, when you start off, we're thinking about it. It is a mechanical device. that's designed for precision. But I think if we use it a lot, it just becomes like another tool. You know what I mean? But yeah, for me, using it initially, I would definitely be thinking about it. But I think if you use it over time, or maybe not even that much, if we do a couple scenes with it, you would utilize it where, maybe we could use it the most. I.e., I might do a scene like this, but then I'm going to stamp a quote stamp up here. You know what I mean? Or something like that. I might throw this into the stamp positioner at that point in time. Or if it's something that's got a lot of like thick, like on my foil pieces, where I'm using like a thick application of StazOn. Sometimes, you get that kind of that air pocket underneath there, and then I lift up and it's like, oh, you know, I'm filling it in with the Sharpie pen. Maybe that would be good for the a stamp positioner, because you can just keep restamping it. So like on a horse like this one right here, right there, I get these little air pockets in it, with the super mirrored cardstock and those real silhouette solid images like that. So I wouldn't mind that positioner to be able to restamp it a few times, just to get a better, more solid impression on top of it. But then the rest of it, maybe it's just more freehand, or I don't know, whatever you call it, just, yeah, non-positioner stamping. Okay, let's see here. Let's add in a little bit of extra texturing. I don't like that. It was one thing about there's so much glare coming off of these metallics like that back into the camera, but then brilliance inks are a little bit, kind of shimmery too. Not super shimmery like this white, but it has a little bit of that whatever sheen or quality to it. Okay, so I'm adding in some lighter areas on the tops of my little slopes. I'll do it on the rocks. We shaded below items. Now I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting on the tops of things or areas. So this little slope in here. Gets a little bit of this treatment on the tops of some of these larger rocks, maybe. You can add that in. Like, see, here's these rocks down here in the water, right in here. And I colored them out, because I wasn't real super careful about avoiding them when I'm doing that colored pencil application. But what I do with the pen is I just kind of reclaim that lighter area. See, right here, that little slope right there, that little tuft of snow right there. I can just kind of reestablish it like that. Or sometimes I like doing it like on the water's edge, like that, just to make a little bit of a value change between the the shore and the water, like that, like right in here. The acrylic paint pens are really fantastic for this too, because they're designed to work, practically over anything. Even you can use them on glass if you want to. You see that little rock right there has a little bit of that, glistening kind of light on there now. And down here in the water, or the ice, the frozen water, or whatever. We can make it shimmer with light, or it represents reflected light, I guess. I really like it on the snow though. See right there, that little texturing on there. Like snow would be kind of glistening and shimmery, right? And so is like ice and water. So like that little area down there. And then when it starts moving into the darker area, I just kind of my little dots, see they're more condensed in the light area, but then I spread them out more. So right in here, I have them more condensed right here, and then there's less of it as it moves into the shadows like that. See this little area right in here? Let's make that kind of, whatever, glisten, in the moonlight, like that. From a textural standpoint, it's a lighting standpoint too. It does a lot of things potentially. On the top little tufts of our tree, it's lighter in the design too, but you can just follow that shading convention that I've, created in the designs themselves. So in here, I'm just kind of illuminating the lighter area, of that side of the tree, the branch, whatever. Here's little types of details like this. The trees over here facing the light, the branches, the side of the tree facing the moonlight is lighter on the left-hand side. Tree right here, where the moon is to the right, I'll illuminate the right side of the whatever little branches or whatever, foliage. And right here, it's just kind of like coming from above. So you have that like that. See, let me try to get this glare. I can't get it in all one shot right here. It's kind of like that. You can see what I've done here, where I take out the all that reflective type of thing like that. Look at that. It's like stars off, stars on. All right. Sometimes I add in little highlights on the sides of things like foreground trees, just a little bit of highlights on the side, the right side, whatever, the left side of these trees facing the light to the left. But I think we already have enough little dots crawling around in here, and that sky is already busy enough like that. So you can really see the shimmering down here with those little white dots down there like that. So it really makes that snow kind of, a little bit icier looking and, like really reflective. So I think that is it. I'm trying to make a, it seems like I don't know if I'm missing something or if I was going to do something else like this. So this will get, matted and whatever, mounted on something here. Let me get some of that there. I need a good angle here. And you can use the sticker paper, to mat it down too. I double mat, so I'll probably use the sticker paper for that and just flatten this out. But if this sticker paper is like super, super aggressive, so be really definitive, when you lay it down. Probably I lay it down from like the beginning, or you can peel it off and, you can do that thing where you just peel it off and, you lay it down like that. Okay, but, just watch out that you don't get like an air bubble in there, which you can kind of work out, but once in a while I get like an air pocket in there. And it's like I can't get it out because, I've already laid it down in this area around here on the perimeter is like, it's locked in, it's so aggressive of an adhesive. So just, just be mindful of that. It's because this metallic paper too, once you take off this backing, this type of paper is really thin. so it's easy to kind of get that locked in. Sometimes I've like taken an X-Acto blade, I think, and poked a hole in there to let the air out, and you can't really tell, but you just assume not to have that air pocket in there, if we can avoid it. Unless it's supposed to be in there, you want like this, you send it off to someone and they have like an air pocket and say, well, it's like this, it's supposed to be like this embossed ridge. So you locked in air right in there. So it's like, nice and round or something like that. So that's what you do. That's art for you. You come up with you come up with the reasons like afterwards. That's one of those things that always cracked me up about going to art school. It's like you have to kind of, you know, explain your piece up there. And I was like thinking, a lot of people are just kind of making all this stuff up after the fact. Let's see. On other stamps, photopolymer types of stamps. Oh, the photopolymer ones. Yeah, the photopolymer ones, especially like the more solid ones where you need to multiple stamp them to get that really good impression, huh? Quote stamps or making up Oh, the repeat pattern. Yeah, those are cool too. Mass card. Yeah. So yeah, for that mass card making, I would definitely use it for something like that. I'm doing Christmas cards or something like that, and I'm doing some sort of I would do some sort of relatively simple type of a thing. I would just I would add that in with the positioner. That would be perfect, especially if it had the quote stamps on there. Oh yeah, the footprints in the snow, right? Hello, Gisela. Good to see you. And Chris, of course. But when you spray fix the piece, the watercolor pencils will go. Not with mine, Chris. It doesn't, unless you're spraying and putting like a big, gigantic slathering. My pencils don't go into solution. My spray fix is drying though. It's probably dries within like 3 seconds or something like that with the level of coating that I'm putting down there. The only thing that I'm concerned about with spray fixing is if I'm doing like the pastel pencil on top, where the pastel pencil just and it goes into like transparency or something like that. So I'm trying to maintain some of those more delicate touches on top of darker areas with a lighter dry media. I don't use chalks, but that would have been, those were the types of things I was watching for with that. Hello, Darlene. Hello, military mom. I loved when it snowed. I loved when it snowed when it was little because it was always lighter outside when it was dark. Oh, that's an interesting, yeah, point. That's really cool. Yeah, I forgot what it was. When we used to go hiking, there was that statistic out there that it was like snow was like it reflects a certain percentage of light. So it was something like I don't know, like 85 or 90% or something like that. Where just like Earth or whatever, other things that were reflected like I don't know what it was. It was like it was under 50%. I don't know, for some reason I was thinking like 25 or something like that. Um, but yeah, that's cool. That's one of those things. Like I said, I didn't do like winter designs for a long time because there wasn't very much to them. You know what I mean? They were just really kind of light. I didn't want to just do like you know, like a big, like a mountain that's, just covered in snow. It's like all white, there's no like, you can't see as much texture in it or something like that. So my answer to that was like putting like rocks in the snow and not having, like deep snow. I don't have like designs like that. So I have these little kind of like twiggy types of things sticking out of that, like that to define, different, slopes or angles that the snow is on. Otherwise, it could look like just completely flat. But that's something that I don't know. I struggled with for years and how to depict, that in terms of an interesting stamp design. The surprise was really, yeah, that's what I was, yeah, with mine. Yeah, mine dries so fast. Even in like when I'm doing like 3 coats, I think 3 coats of my spray fix is, I I don't even think it takes like 30 seconds because like it dries just so fast. Now I don't know, like if I was doing it like in cooler weather or something like that. And a lot of times I'm doing this stuff at like late at night, you know what I mean, where it might be sitting on that a little bit longer. But my spray fixes, I don't know, even the spray fix seems to dry really fast. Um, the UV resistant clear though might be on there for a while. Glad you like it, Darlene. You didn't highlight the cabin. Yeah, I didn't want to. I thought the cabin was already kind of. It's already looks like it's kind of like in a veil of mist, so I didn't want to illuminate it too much because the contrasts aren't really there. It just stamped out kind of lighter to begin with, so it's already kind of under. So I wouldn't make it too contrasty. So down here, it's like all the imagery is a lot darker and more defined, and that just looks. Now I didn't do that purposely. I probably should have re-inked my pad, I guess, before I stamped that out. But I don't know. In the end, it worked out pretty good because that little figure stands out against that background a lot better. But had that stamped out darker, I probably would have added in a few little highlights into it. But again, I don't know. This piece is starting to get kind of busy with all those dots right here. I got a ton of them down here. Sometimes if I start highlighting like everything, it just seems like it's crawling with little, colored dots or something like that. Now, if that happens, you guys, and I do it all the time, like if it's like, oh my God, I like added like way too many highlights. What I do is I just cut down the contrast between those little dots and the background again, but you're usually not in a really dark area. But what I do is I just put a little bit of white pigment ink over the top of them, and that subdues them because you're cutting down the contrast between a white dot and whatever color there is in the background. So it just takes care of that really easy. Yeah. So Megan, yeah, I hope that cooled you down there. Along with keep hydrated too. Megan's out there in 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's getting warm. So these are the types of things that you can stamp out sometimes. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's you don't do seasonal things. Sometimes it's like if it's cold, I'm stamping like a warm tropical sunset or something like that. Or sometimes when it's like muggy and something like that, I want to just stamp out like a cool nighttime scene with some blues or something like that. But the one that I was going to stamp out this scene on was this one. And this one to me reminds me of ice or something like that. But I haven't used this one in a while. I thought, people might get all freaked out, with this one. Not that I would care too much, but but this one looks like ice to me. More it's like shards of ice or something like that, or whatever you call it, that light refraction or something like that, looking through some ice. But I thought, let's just do. I haven't done, I wanted to do something on this, just like really. I, I call it user friendly types of vinyl in the printable vinyl, and something wintry. I want to do more of those cabins in the winter types of landscapes. So it was fun. All right, let's see. Every time I am in Joanne and I see the Brilliance ink pads. Do they have a lot of colors there in Joanne's Military Mom? I was just when I started using that Brilliance pad, and I had my Brilliance pads for like 20 years. Just the, the white and the black. Um, I don't remember using them. They were open, but then I needed something to dry on, my metallic cardstocks. And I remembered the Brilliance pads are supposed to do that, so I started using them. Okay, what I'm getting at though is I posted on things like Facebook, and people were saying, "Hey, I thought we couldn't use foils to stamp on." Now, I'm sure they would have known that they could do it with stays on, but I was doing some blending on these types of foils like this. It wasn't the holographic ones at first; it was the gold and the silver. But what occurred to me is a lot of people hadn't even heard of Brilliance pads before, because they came out so long ago, and I don't know, just they were meant for pigment ink being able to dry on glossy cardstock primarily. And, just a lot of people just don't use glossy cardstock. Some of the glossy cardstocks don't work really well with clear stamps, too, which is probably one of the reasons. And then everyone started using Copic markers and coloring just on matte cardstock. So Brilliance was one of those kind of forgotten things. So I thought, oh my God. And then I went on to Imagine Crafts, who is the US distributor for Sukaneko. And there were a bunch of colors that I noticed that were already being discontinued. I thought, oh my God, I hope they don't discontinue this, because I like I like stamping and blending on top of those metallic cardstocks, or things like the iridescent metallics like Star Dreams and things like that. And then I found out that they work fantastic on top of the printable vinyl sticker papers of the holographic versions. And I don't know, I'm still a little bit worried because I don't know of too many people that are using Brilliance inks just in general. And, they have to move a decent amount of, inks and things like that to probably keep something in production. So uh, I don't know how else I could do this on here other than the Brilliance inks. Especially, you can stamp on here, with inks, but I couldn't do this type of colored pencil work and things like that without the Brilliance white on there. So if you ever get those pads, I would suggest a couple of re-inkers because you never know. I contacted Sukaneko a couple years ago and I said, hey, you're not thinking about discontinuing the Brilliance pads anytime too soon, are you? And they said, no, we're not, we don't have any plans to do that. So, yeah, I don't know, get them into your things. You can start printing, doing things on the printable vinyl sticker papers. You can stamp on the foils. If you stamp on the foils, then just spray seal them. And then you can also use them, like I said, on the iridescents, like the Star Dream types of papers. And you don't need a huge amount of colors in them either, although it might be kind of cool, but I just use the black and white primarily. And then sometimes I go into the silver and gold. I don't use those too often, though, because it seems like the ink dries out, and I don't use them too much at any given time, so I don't like to re-ink a whole pad, to have it sit around and then have all that ink dry out on me. So, and you need a decent amount of ink to get a good impression, with your pads. So anyway, all right. So let's see. You do your work speaks for itself. Thanks, Bonnie. Glad you like it, Sharita. Yeah. Time to bust out that printable vinyl, Sharita, if you haven't done it for a while. I don't know. I hope everyone's, tried this, and if you haven't tried it, you give it a try. It doesn't have to be this scene, but just kind of doing something with the printable vinyl sticker paper. Remember, if you get this stuff too, you want to get the printable vinyl holographic sticker papers. The starry ones kind of, it's a bit loud, in terms of the pattern too, but they have the ones that are just holographic too that are kind of cool and mellow. I was going to just do something on that, but I thought the stars might look kind of cool for winter. All right. Hope you have a great weekend. It's a Father's Day weekend too, huh? Um, Boy, time flies. I might do another sometime this weekend. I wanted to do another Father's Day card. My father passed away a few years ago, but I still do a little card for him in memory. And I did this one really fast one the other day, but I thought, I want to do one a little bit more in depth, um, in color. It was like a one of those "don't blink or you'll miss it" types of cards. Um, yeah, here it is, right here. The Baja scene right there. See, there's like a bunch of fish in there that he's gonna pull up. Oh yeah. I wanted to do like Alaska or something like that. One where he can catch like a giant halibut or something like that. All right, here I just tweaked my exposure a little bit, but that's a little bit more akin to what I'm looking at here in person. There's so much like light and glare coming back in the camera, so I just tweaked my camera a little bit more so you can see a little bit more of the coloring in that space like that. So yeah. If you have any questions or if you're trying any of this stuff, run into any kind of, whatever weird kind of challenges or something like that or hurdles, just drop me a note and we'll work you through it. What makes it really easy is if you send me a photograph or something like that, and just attach it to an email or something like that and say, hey, this is happening, what's going on, and we'll be able to tell you exactly what to do and what tweak to make and to, get you the results that you're going after. Yeah, bust out that printable vinyl, Sharita. You got that down really good, very quickly. So as far as the techniques go. And remember this type of thing too. I mean, it'd be really cool to do it in some sort of, you know. Now this is the water. I have it going up right here, but those printable sticker papers, and like a mirrored, reflection card would be cool too. In this one, you can do a reflection card, but see, I wouldn't have this water down here. The water, the top part of the card would start, like right there, like that. But you can see that holographic card. But see, look down in here in this reflection down here. You get that kind of twinkly kind of motion happening in that water down below too. So it's really fun to utilize this type of cardstock or whatever paper in your reflection cards because you get it doubled down in that lower area, which is really fun because it brings that motion down there too, because that's what the holographic cards really do. It puts motion and light and color, into our scenes too, where it would just normally be like white, white cardstock. Your dad's been gone for 53 years. Bonnie, you're going to stamp out a card, a nighttime scene, and add 53 little stars up there for your dad, and count them all out like that. Give him one nice North Star, too. Thanks, Sam Hawkins. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I hope everyone has a great Father's Day weekend, in memory of dads or in memory of father figures out there, etc., or if you have anyone who has whatever sons and, grandsons out there that are fathers, hope they have a great weekend, or hope you have a great weekend with them. I don't know what country is U.S. only has the Father's Day in the same weekend. Father's Day is on any other of the same weekend, or I don't know. And there's Canada match. I don't know. Whatever. Whatever it be. I hope you have a great weekend. All right, I really like this one here. The colored pencils are really fun on here, and I got my clouds down pretty good in there. Like I said, sometimes they could look a little bit chunkier and you shouldn't worry about it. See, like this right here, it's a little bit chunky, but when you stamp that imagery over the top of it, but I got my transitions pretty good in there, so I didn't rush it, I guess, and I had a nice dry cotton ball like that. So my little cotton ball served me well. All right, folks, have a great rest of evening.